Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sparrowcus, and welcome back to Kingdom Come Deliverance, where I was just looking at this building alone, man. Like this build-on building, like, you know, there was this building first, and they built this building there, and then they built this building here. And just looking at the roof and that, you know, what's it called? Scaffolding? No, it's not the same. It doesn't matter. The woodwork, all right? Just fucking beautiful. Gotta love this game. Anyways, Johanka is in prison for heresy, and we need to talk to the Inquisitor to get her free, or something.
Sir, I am...
Henry of Skalitz, from the garrison of the Royal Hetman, Sir Radzig Kobyla. I've heard a lot about you, my son. I'm pleased to meet you.
Huh? Not sure if that's a good thing.
Bishop Yaroslav? Sir? My lord, to what do I owe your interest in my humble self?
I was told you survived the massacre in Skalitz and warned the Talmberg garrison. You tracked down the raiders of a stud farm in Neuhof, wasn't it? To their hideout in the woods. And then you led Sir Radzig and his armed company there and joined bravely in the skirmish, and even killed their notorious leader by your own hand. And I believe you have many other deeds to your name. That's quite remarkable, considering your age, is it not?
Well, you're quite informed, considering your age.
Oh, you're too kind, Monsignor. I'm just trying to do what's right, and what's needed.
Quite rightly, too, my son. I expect we'll be hearing more about you. But I assume you didn't come here to exchange pleasantries. Or am I mistaken?
No, Monsignor, you're quite right. I'm here about Johanka.
Naturally. I'd be quite surprised if it were otherwise. So, tell me what's on your mind.
How did you find out about Johanka?
Word came to me of what was happening here. That some young girl was claiming to speak for the Blessed Virgin. I traveled here immediately, as my duty demanded, and observed events in Sasau incognito, in order to examine the matter at first hand.
I see. Why did you have her imprisoned?
Because she broke the promise she made to me, and persisted in actions that bear the signs of heresy.
And what will happen to Johanka now?
I must weigh the gravity of her transgressions and investigate these alleged visions of hers. I consider it very improbable that she is indeed being visited by the Blessed Virgin. Nevertheless, I cannot at this time rule it out entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it could be true? In that case, Johanka hasn't done anything wrong.
It's not that straightforward. Even if her visions were real, she was at fault for interpreting them as she saw fit and preaching to the people.
So you decide just like that? But you don't even know Johanka.
I certainly do not decide just like that. I'm thoroughly examining the entire matter, and you would be well advised not to question my authority. I will call Johanka and the witnesses, question them, and then pronounce a verdict.
And will there be anyone there to defend Johanka?
Do you doubt my judgment?
I would never be so bold, sir.
Except for
Surely
a moment
it would
ago.
be only just that someone should speak for Johanka about all her good deeds and so forth.
Naturally, I will also question those who would speak in her defense. Since you are interceding, I expect you have someone in mind?
Yes. Actually, me.
As I surmised. But this matter does not directly concern you. Why should I allow you to appear before the court?
I serve the royal hetman, and his interests are mine. To see justice done in this province, and to quell unrest.
Laudable, no doubt. But bear in mind that Lord Kobyla is a secular governor, and this matter is subject to church law, in which he has no jurisdiction. On the other hand, I do acknowledge that you've been quite exemplary in doing your duty, as far as I'm aware. Your concern seems sincere, so I will grant your request. Very well. You will defend Johanka. You may speak in her defense if you so wish, and you may also bring witnesses. I will question any such witnesses, and naturally I shall question Johanka too.
Thank you, Monsignor. In that case, I'll need to speak to Johanka first.
That won't be possible. It's forbidden by the Inquisition procedure. Until the entire matter is resolved, Johanka can speak only to me and no one else.
Yeah, it's no use.
I would like to expedite the matter. The trial will take place in Sassaw Church in 3 days' time at the latest. Come and let me know when you're ready to proceed. In the meantime, I will continue my investigation.
Very well, Monsignor. I had better get on with it then, sir. Farewell.
Before you go, you know Johanka longer than anyone else. You spent a lot of time with her, as I've discovered. Tell me, my son, truthfully, what do you think of this whole affair?
About the Virgin Mary? I believe the Virgin does visit her. Johanka is honest. She wouldn't lie about such a thing. And the things she says sound truthful and compelling. It really does seem like a heavenly revelation. Who else could it be from? But the Virgin Mary.
The origin of these so-called visions of hers must be investigated. But thank you for your candor. Is there anything else you can tell me?
Johanka is an honest girl and virtuous. She's a good Christian who attends church and thinks of others.
Good. Please continue.
Well, this one's probably not good for her case, and we want her out, so...
She's worried about Matthias. He's from Skalitz too, and she's very fond of him. But he was wounded in a raid on Merhojed recently, and since then he's been lying in a fever. Johanka believes that if she does what the Blessed Virgin wants of her, Matthias might be healed.
Interesting. Anything else?
Well, before, in Skalitz, Johanka was sort of, well, just a simple village girl. I never imagined I'd hear her talking the way she does now. She's completely transformed.
A simple village girl. I see. Do continue.
Yeah, you never know. Is this going to help us the case or not?
Johanka helped a lot of people. She worked her fingers to the bone helping Brother Nicodemus with the sick and injured.
That is certainly commendable. What else can you tell me about her?
All right, this one doesn't also sound very nice. And I'm pretty sure that affair with the custodian will still gonna turn up somehow, but that's all.
That's about all I can tell you.
Is that really everything?
Yes.
I have nothing more to add, Monsignor.
Very well. Thank you, my son. One more thing before you go. Let me remind you that it's your Christian duty to report anything suspicious going on concerning the church and the true faith, if you're aware of anything of the sort in these parts. If you prove yourself a commendable servant of the church, I would also take that into account in judging Johanka's case.
All right, Monsignor. I'll bear that in mind.
Take care now.
Why did you have Johanka imprisoned?
I talked to her for a long time about the things she was saying and about her convictions. I warned her that she had to stop preaching in public. And I told her if she had any further concerns, or as she claims, visions, she should come to me. Johanka chose to ignore my warning and continued with her preaching. Obviously, I couldn't turn a blind eye to that kind of disobedience.
But what's so bad about what Johanka has been saying?
Look here. It's simply unacceptable that anyone at all should come along and stand up in the market square and preach about God's will or how he or she interprets it. God gave us his teachings, which we must honor, and he showed us how to fulfill them. It is only those teachings that lead us on the path to salvation and God's grace. But understanding those teachings is no simple matter. It demands learning, time, and effort. That is one of the tasks of Holy Mother Church. What Johanka has been saying is dangerously close to heresy. She must be brought to see the error of her ways, and her disruptive actions must cease.
But Johanka hasn't done anything against God. On the contrary, she's devout, and she's trying to redeem sinners.
Perhaps, but she's also incited disobedience to the nobles, and that is a serious accusation. Think of it like this. You have to pass through a dark forest filled with hazards. Many paths lead to that forest, but only one will lead you safely through it. You know which is the right path, but others don't. Would you show them the right path, or leave each to choose his own and very likely lose his way?
I'd lead them along the right path.
Of course. And surely you understand that the Holy Church is the one that knows that right path. And it is our duty to ensure that everyone should follow it and not stray from it.
But that's just what Johanka was doing. Trying to show people the right path.
And what makes you so convinced the path was the right one?
The Virgin Mary told her.
We only have her word for that. And even if her visions were real, she was at fault for interpreting them as she saw fit and preaching to the people.
So you think she should have spoken to the parish priest about it?
Exactly. And the priest would have sent for someone who would look into the matter. Like me, for instance. In short, it's not for her to interpret such things in her own way. If people believed her and started thinking what they want about it, soon everyone would be adrift in confusion, and the true message would be lost.
Aha. I think I understand.
I'm glad you do, my son.
But Johanka was visited by the Virgin Mary, so what she says can't be wrong.
We only have her word for that.
But how, if the Virgin Mary told her?
As it says in Galatians, but though we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed.
I think...
Good.
Monsignor, Johanka is just a simple village girl from Scallis. Are all these legal proceedings really necessary?
They are. The mission of the Inquisition is quite unequivocal, and however trivial, this matter has a broader significance.
What broader significance?
No offense, but these things can't easily be explained to an uneducated boy like you. Still, I'm pleased that you take an interest. Unfortunately, I don't have time for this now. If you really want to know more, ask my assistant. After all, it is also our duty to guide others through the labyrinth of this world.
A defender in a duel. I'm pretty sure that that's not going to work out.
Monsignor, I've heard of various irregularities in the province that might be of interest to you.
Very good, my son. A good Christian certainly shouldn't conceal such things. Please, speak.
The former parish priest of Rovna, Father Simon, went missing one day. Everyone thought he'd fled from the province, but in fact he just went to the woods and became a hermit.
I see. Why did he do that?
Because he got some girl pregnant. The child died during birth, though, and the mother too. He took it to be retribution for his sin. So he fled far from people, because he didn't feel fit to be their pastor anymore.
That's very interesting indeed. Where is this Father Simon now?
I tracked him down in the woods and talked him into going back to Rovna. They needed a parish priest there, and Simon was convinced taking on the task would make amends for his sin.
Interesting. Father Simon's story is certainly remarkable. Whether his actions are appropriate for a cleric is another matter, of course. Thank you for telling me about this.
There were Valdensians hiding in Ujits.
Really? And how did you find out about it?
Sir Hanush sent me to help the vicar track them down and catch them.
So, Sir Hanush had an interest in finding them?
Of course.
Yes, that's right.
I'm pleased to hear it. It's not always possible to see eye to eye with secular lords in such matters. And how did it end up with the members of the sect?
I tracked them down and reported them to the vicar, and then he had them taken to Kuttenberg for trial.
Good. Good. There have been all sorts of sects and false doctrines spreading in recent times. It's the work of Satan. I'm glad you told me about it, Henry.
Some women in Ujits went to the herbalist for magic ointment. Then they went to the woods, smeared this ointment on themselves, and engaged in all sorts of incantations and spells.
What? Witchcraft? God have mercy. They must be brought to justice. Who is this herbalist they visited?
Old Gertrude. She lives in the woods by Ledechko.
This will
Nice.
have to be dealt with. Thank you for telling me. Once I've finished with Johanka's case, I'll consider what's to be done about this.
Yeah, she's gonna be dead. Good thing she's old already.
A demon's skull was found on the church building site.
Yes, I heard something about it. A disturbing report. Tell me what you know about it.
It was a deception, sir. Someone made it with evil intentions, to frighten people. I found the skull and brought it to the local knacker. He confirmed it was a human skull with animal horns stuck on.
You did the right thing, Henry, in uncovering the deception and in telling me about it.
There are interesting things going on inside the monastery.
In the monastery? What kind of things?
Oh, various things that people are talking about. There's a lot of talk about the construction of the new church and how much it must be costing. But actually, nothing that would interest you, really. I won't waste your time with it.
As you wish.
I guess it's the main story, and we didn't get too far in
That's
so
all,
far.
Monsignor.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh boy. Talk to various people. Oh my goodness. You can rob that. Rob that. Rob that. And rob that. Guess we're gonna come back here during the night. Monsieur Assistant.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
The bishop told me this business with Johanka has a wider context, and that you tell me about it.
Oh, very well. If the bishop says so. Look, it's like this. The world as a whole is not in a good state. For decades, people have been perishing from a terrible sickness, the Black Death. There's an anti-pope in Avignon in France who defies the authority of the throne of St. Peter. The people are frightened. Many of the nobles, instead of caring for peace on earth, are warring one against another. The authority of many monarchs, and even the emperor, is unfortunately too weak to put things to rights. Many scholars have even started to question established truths, and various contentious teachings have appeared, such as those of the Englishman Wycliffe.
The Black Death?
The plague, my child. A dreadful disease that claimed countless lives. By the grace of God, these parts were not much afflicted, but it took a terrible toll in the surrounding countries. First, the Italian ports were stricken, Venice and Genoa, and then nearly the whole of Christendom. Some regard it as God's punishment for our sins, or even a sign of the approaching parousia.
What?
The parousia, the second coming of Christ. The day when he returns to this world will mark the end of the ages. The dead will rise, and all people will face final judgment for their sins.
Oh. Do you think that's going to happen?
Most assuredly. But God alone knows when that will be.
Oh. I hope it won't be too soon.
Well, it's at least another 600 years.
The Black Death?
The plague, my child. A dreadful disease first.
That's all. The anti-pope?
Unfortunately, that's a very serious and unpleasant topic. In short, alongside the legitimate Pope, the Bishop of Rome, and successor to St. Peter, another was elected and is usurping the highest glory of being Christ's representative here on earth. This is a most lamentable schism for the whole church, and the Avignon usurper must be compelled to give up his unlawfully acquired office, so the church and the whole of Christendom may again be unified.
So, there are two popes?
Not quite. There is only one, but there are those who refuse to recognize him. The election wasn't correct and valid and I apologize. It wasn't wise to speak to you of this. It will only confuse you all the more. Better forget it. We won't talk about it anymore.
You mentioned the Emperor.
God wants unity, a universal order of the world. The Pope, Christ's deputy, and the Emperor, the supreme earthly ruler, crowned by the Pope himself, were instituted in order to preside over that unity. Unfortunately, the gleam of the imperial crown has become somewhat dulled, and his authority is no longer as absolute as it once was. What's worse, his election has become a political game involving many princes, and for a long time, the emperor himself has paid less attention to the affairs of the Christian world and more to his own concerns.
I see. And what about these scholars?
That's complicated. Some reject the authority of the Pope or the Church. Others dispute over the legitimacy of government or the nature of the world. Others rebel against teachings. All of them seek all sorts of arguments and explanations to support their claims and argue with others. All this contributes to uncertainty. One doubt leads to another, and soon heretical ideas take hold.
Ah. Uh-huh.
But don't concern yourself.
Of course. Peace on earth.
Yes. Sadly, many countries are torn apart by strife and destroyed by war. In the lands of the English, the French, the Italians, in the Holy Roman Empire, Christians are raising their weapons against other Christians. Love for our neighbor has given way to the pursuit of mammon and high office. They plot against each other to gain advantage. You've seen it yourself, right here in Bohemia, and even in Sasau.
Yes. And in Skalitz.
Indeed, my son. Regrettably.
But what does all this mean? What has it got to do with Johanka?
As I say, the order of the world is shaken. Division is spreading, and confusion and iniquity thrive. It's the handiwork of Lucifer,
Dun dun dun
who wants to lay
dun.
waste to God's creation. Many have succumbed to his false truths and spread them to others. That's why we must be alert to his snares, especially in these times. Be wary.
I know someone like that. There's a charlatan who's been peddling wares around these parts. All sorts of amulets, relics and the likes that are supposed to cure all ills.
Yes, I've heard something about that. If you should know of any similar iniquities, the Monseigneur will be...
And Johanka.
Just so. I fear she too may have been ensnared by Lucifer's deceptions, and the false belief that she's been visited by the Blessed Virgin.
Impossible.
These machinations of the devil must be faced and stamped out before they take root and cause more evil. But we must not despair. Even those who have strayed from the right path may be redeemed. And that's why Johanka's case is important, although it may not be immediately apparent.
I understand. Thanks.
So, you've been totally useless. Okay. Medieval crises. As it drew to a close, the medieval world was shaken to its foundations. Old certainties fell apart and new has emerged. Oh boy, the plague. Yeah, Bohemia wasn't really, because Bohemia is so far inland, so it took really a long time to get there. You know, it was a lot of, like Italy and so on. They and the rest of the Holy Roman Empire can get fucked with it. Yeah, but the agriculture production, that was always an issue. Well, the good thing is, after the plague, the burgeoning population of Europe was a lot less. Universal unity. Yes, yes, yes. Well, well, well. Boy. It's food and shit. I'm gonna steal everything. For the glory of Johanka. Ouch.
Can you tell me anything about Inquisitor Yaroslav?
Only as a myth, a dark fable, a horror tale told across the flickering embers of a midnight fire, wherever hardened warriors and minstrels gather to drink and compete in tales of blood-chilling terror. And now bugger off. May the Lord watch over you.
Nice. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's also nice. They just... Did they scrape it off? Or I think they scraped it off, right? They didn't put something on it. They scraped it off. Nice. Nice indeed. Damn it. I was hoping to find something here, but no. Brother Nicodemus.
Brother Nicodemus.
You've heard something?
The Inquisitor has decided that Johanka will be tried, but he's agreed that I can defend her.
That's really quite unusual. It must mean he hasn't come to a clear conclusion yet.
Yes. I'll get her out of it.
I'm afraid it may not be that easy. The thing is, I expect Johanka will say the same things before the court that she's been preaching.
What are you saying?
Well, I've been thinking about what she's been saying, and it seems to me her preaching has a certain progression. Are you acquainted with the notion of the three orders of man?
Not really.
Not really, no.
It's like this. It's said that everyone has their God-given place and purpose on earth. Laboratores, oratores, and bellatores. Those who work, those who pray, and those who fight. The common folk are born to work, to reap the fruits of the earth, and to obey the laws of God and man. It is the purpose of the nobles to protect the people and the church against all dangers, and to maintain peace and justice on earth. And the church, in turn, has the task of caring for the spiritual welfare of all, ensuring the salvation of their souls, and bringing solace to the people in times of hardship, so that they can endure their earthly trials and enter the kingdom of heaven.
But what's all that got to do with Johanka?
Well, I noticed in her first sermon she primarily addressed the concerns of the common folk, and in the second, she criticized the nobility.
I suppose so. But I still don't get it.
In short, I'm afraid that now she might start talking about the church if she gets the chance. And if she's as critical as she was about the lords, I dread to think how that might end up. Henry, you must warn her against that. She must show humility before the Inquisitor, and the wisest course would be to admit to being wrong. She's rather stubborn, but perhaps she'll listen to you.
But the Inquisitor said no one's allowed to see her.
No one except the Inquisitor's own men. You'll just have to think something up. I'm afraid Johanka's fate is mainly in your hands now. I'm relying on you.
See you later.
I can't sleep again.
Witnesses can be summoned for Johanka's trial. So I wanted to ask you if you give a testimony. Maybe some learned speech in her defense?
I'd be glad to do it. Johanka deserves my help. Such testimonies could carry a lot of weight. You should try and get as many as you can.
What actually?
Johanka told...
Yeah?
He...
That's all?
No. It is.
Goodbye.
The three orders of mankind. The yada, the yada, and the yada yada. Yeah, well. Came up with all sort of shit. Hey, Adela.
Adela, the
You
Inquisitor
whore.
is going to try Johanka in court.
Oh, Lord. I hope she's acquitted. I was absolutely devastated when they took her away.
I need people to speak in her defense, and I'd like to ask you to do it.
I don't want to go there. Really. I'm afraid of that Inquisitor. But you helped me, and so did Johanka. It's only right that I should try and help her. But what am I supposed to say there? I'm just a simple village girl. I don't know anything about these things.
That doesn't matter. You just be yourself. It should be
Fuck
enough
the
to talk
Inquisitor,
about
exactly.
all the good Johanka does here, and how she helps others. I'll send for you if you're needed.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
May the Lord watch over you.
Yep. Alright. The custodian can also do a testimony. Alright. Or maybe we have to stop him from doing a testimony.
God be with you.
I need something from you, sir. I suppose you heard that Johanka was locked up by the Inquisitor and is facing charges of heresy.
I did, and it's most disturbing news.
What you might not know is that he's agreed that I can defend her at the trial.
You? Do you even know what to say?
Sure I know. It'll turn out just fine. Trust me. But I need you to testify at the court. In Johanka's defense, of course.
Naturally. You don't think I could just sit here and do nothing? Besides, the bishop has already insisted that I appear before the court.
Oh. All right.
One moment. I apologize if I was a little hasty. This whole affair has left me anxious. I appreciate that you want to defend her. However, I don't think it would have any effect. No offense, but I don't think you'll be able to achieve anything in court. I'm afraid the Inquisitor will judge as he sees fit, whatever anyone says. But I have an idea how you could help.
Oh? How's that?
Flee. With Johanka, of course.
No, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm sure Johanka will be acquitted by the court and everything will be all right. Running would just confirm the Inquisitor's suspicions, and she'd always be looking over her shoulder.
I don't agree. As I said, I don't believe you can affect the outcome of the court. If Johanka flees, yes, she'll have to lie low for a while, but in time it will all blow over. You can take her anywhere, as long as it's far enough from here. A girl like that will always find her feet. She can easily hide out somewhere where she's not known. Maybe there could even be a place for her on my estate.
Ah,
But whatever you decide,
of
if
course.
Johanka comes to any harm, you'll have me to answer to. I'm very fond of her, and her of me, and I don't want anything to happen to her, understand? But if everything ends well, I'll show you my gratitude, I assure you. Take care now.
Alright. Ah. It's the Pavel of Pavel.
Goodman Pavel, you're still here. That's a relief. I was afraid I'd miss you.
Ah, Henry. What would you like from me? Maybe you'd like to rob me of what I have left, or what is it this time?
What?
What on earth do you mean?
You were supposed to make that donation in my name,
Oh,
not
right.
your own. You lied to me and dishonored the Blessed Virgin on whose behalf Johanka spoke.
It wasn't at all easy getting hold of that treasure. I earned the right to give it in my own name.
You certainly did not. You only wanted to make yourself look good at my expense.
I'd better be going.
Yes, get out of my sight. And you'd better pray our paths don't cross again. Take care now.
I could murder you.
Good help.
Because, you know, I'm a good Christian now. I could still murder him. Alright, who else wants to talk? That testimony didn't really work out. The bailiff? Oh, Johanka is in there. Father Fabian and Guta. Alright, they're all down there.
Yeah.
Alright, let's start over here counterclockwise. My good Guta.
God grant you health. How may I help you?
I need your help with something. I'm sure you've heard. Johanka was locked up by the Inquisitor.
Who hasn't? The whole of Sasso is talking about it. And the Inquisitor was asking around about her.
I'd like to ask you to appear before the court and say something in Johanka's defense.
I can't say I'm keen on going there. But Johanka helped me. And you did too. I think it's only right that someone should say something good about her.
Ah, thanks, Guta. I appreciate it. I'll send for you when it's time.
Good luck then.
All right. That's one. Now the Padre.
Father, the Inquisitor has had Johanka thrown in jail.
I know, son.
He's planning a hearing.
Rightly so. It's about time this whole matter was dealt with.
What do you think about it then?
As I say, it's a good thing that the matter is being investigated. The things Johanka has been preaching are, to say the least, disturbing. Who knows what these dreams are that she speaks of? And her words are only putting ideas in people's heads and leading them astray. Now, instead of going to church, as they should, they go to her in the false belief that they will find solace. It's creating a chasm between the people and the church and leading them away from the true teaching left to us by Christ. They're misguided and swamped in heretical ideas.
But Johanka is only saying what the Virgin Mary has told her. What can be wrong with that?
And how do you know the Virgin is really talking to her?
Well, I believe she's telling the truth.
Ah, but you can't be sure, can you? Do you really think a girl from the stable knows God's teaching better than the church? Better than the generations of church fathers and learned scholars since the time of Christ, who have studied the sacred scriptures and their correct interpretation? With all the evil that's already going on in this province, the last thing people need is a false prophet.
Christ also came from a stable, though.
There's no comparison. Christ was the Son of God. Enough of this. Bishop Yaroslav asked me to present my suspicions before the court, and that's what I intend to do. He will then resolve the whole matter. He is, after all, more qualified than anyone to do so.
If you say so, Father.
See you later.
That donation...
Indeed. Bonum commune is a prerequisite, if not the very... It expresses not only an interest in the commonwealth. Once again, take care.
You bastard. So, I basically gave the money to the wrong charity here. Because a parish priest is a bastard. As always. Hello, my lord.
Master Bailiff, Inquisitor Yaroslav is going to try Johanka.
I know. He was here asking questions, too.
Oh? What did he want to know?
Various things, like how things are here, whether people are honest, whether we observe the fest days, and so forth. And then he asked about Johanka, about what she preaches, whether people come to listen to her and that. He's been talking to a lot of other people in Sasau, too. I even heard that Katra, the swordsmith's wife, invited him to dine with them.
That's interesting. Thanks for telling me.
Mm-hmm.
Was he just asking questions, or does he want you to testify before the court?
Yes, he did ask me to testify, and I'm none too happy about it.
I see. And what are you going to say about her?
It depends what I'm asked, but there's not much I can say. I don't know Johanka very well. She seems virtuous and self-sacrificing to me. She's never done anything wrong, and no one here ever had a cross word to say about her. Until recently. Maybe some gossip about her and Sir Sebastian. But I've heard similar talk about half the women folk here.
Now that's just idle gossip. Johanka is a virtuous girl.
True. But then there's that preaching of hers. Folk have been falling out. They're split according to whether they believe Johanka or not. I don't know quite what to think of it myself, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'll wait and see what the learned bishop has to say.
Couldn't you add something good to your testimony for Johanka? I would, show my gratitude substantially.
What? Are you trying to bribe me to commit perjury? The Inquisitor will hear how you're going about defending Johanka.
Oh, shit.
Good lord, no. I wouldn't dream of it. I expressed myself badly, that's all. What I was trying to say, rather clumsily, is that I'd be very glad if you were to speak on Johanka's behalf, because she really deserves it.
Well, I'll overlook your clumsiness then.
Thank you, Master Bailiff.
Take care now.
That was a close one. All right.
God save you. God be with you.
Wrong button. Huh. All right. We're just allowed to walk in here. Wait. Where is she? Oh. Yep. Hello.
Hey, clear off. No one's allowed to talk to Johanka. Bishop Yaroslav's orders.
I know. I was just testing you. And you passed. I'm with the bishop's entourage, and I'm here at his command. Let me in to talk to Johanka.
In that case, you surely know that everyone who comes from the bishop has to show a document to prove it.
Good, good. Your diligence is commendable. I don't have the document on me at present, though. I left it at the monastery.
Sorry, sir. We'll have to go and get it. I can't let you in otherwise. I wouldn't want to anger the Monsignor.
Of course. And you can actually read, can you?
A little, sir, yes. That's why they put me here.
Very wise. You're clearly the right man for the job. Very well. I'll be back soon with that paper.
Take care.
Yeah. Guess we have to steal that paper. Oh. Well, would you want to bet that that paper is somewhere in that, you know, in the room of His Holiness? The fuck you doing, horse?
Yeah.
All right, the blacksmith's bitch. Where is he? There she is. Wait, oh no, the swordsmith's bitch. Come here, woman.
Take care.
Any of these weapons any good? A duelist. Yeah, apparently, but that's a longsword. Oh. All right, Ketra.
I'm here about Johanka.
You're that fella of hers, are you? What do you want?
No. I'm just a friend of hers. Matthias is her fella.
Huh. God knows how many she has.
I heard you invited Bishop Yaroslav to come and dine with you.
Yes, so what? Bishop Yaroslav is an esteemed visitor to Sasau, and it's only fitting he should be suitably hosted by devout burghers.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, yes.
And what did you talk about?
What we discussed with the Monsignor is none of your business.
What have you got against Johanka?
Nothing. The question is, what has she got against us? Tell me that.
What?
She turns up here and tries to tell us how to live our lives. Says the Virgin Mary whispers to her in the night. Yeah, I'm sure. To a simple village wench. I'd like to know who's really putting those ideas in her head. She's just getting people all worked up. Men, especially. Coming around here with her nonsense. Sasau is a decent, orderly place, I'll have you know. We don't want any trouble here. All this talk about hellfire and the end of the world. God have mercy. No one is interested in what she has to say. All they want is some spectacle. She ought to have thought twice before she started. Not that she wasn't warned.
What do you mean, warned?
As I said, she was told.
Damn it, woman, tell me what you meant by that.
I didn't mean anything by it.
Out with it!
If you must know, some of the fellas want to have it out with her and tell her to stop. No one wants her speeches here. But would she listen? No. The devil possessed her to bring harm to us.
So it was you who sent those men?
All I wanted was to protect the Sasau folk against her poisonous tongue. And I'll do just that. The Monsignor asked me to testify in court. And I'll tell everything I know there.
And I'll do likewise. Farewell.
Go. Good luck then.
Where's the blacksmith? Swordsmith? Yeah, buddy. Would you just keep your woman's on a leash or something? Apparently not. That's a big one. All right. So we need to steal that thing from the from the Inquisitor's room.
Yeah.
Which I guess he will be awake. Yeah. Well, he'll be sleeping at night, so that should be the best time to go about stealing stuff. So, guys, we'll have an Inquisition in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'll go to sleep and see what's going on tomorrow. How do we look food-wise? Not good. Anyways, I'll go sleeping. Good night.